slow Warlock archetypes usually has a very good chance.
Now I need to familiarize myself with this Warlock deck list as quickly as possible. Because there are some strange cards in here. I mean, Voodoo Doll, we don't see that often anymore. That makes an appearance in the Warlock. Obviously, Cataclysm is a vital part of the combo later on. Otherwise, it's just a lot of control Warlock cards.
Yeah, and then some rather interesting choices. You do have
Voidwalker.
Yeah, 2 Glacial Shards, 2 Voidwalkers, 2 Loot Hoarders, 2 Acolytes of Pains. The single class that can draw cards with its hero power, playing arguably the most card draw that it possibly could. Yeah, they're not messing around.
So, interestingly, Mechathin Warlock doesn't run Skull of the Minari and Voidlords. I guess the reason for that is if the Skull gets destroyed, then the Voidlords both have to be played from the hand for 9 mana. And in an ideal world, as one of the Alabama members tries to do the other's hair, in an ideal world, they want to be winning on turn 10, not playing 9 mana 3/9s.
No, you can't risk that happening. It's inconsistent enough to play Skull and Voidlords in Cube Warlock, where your entire strategy sort of revolves around your Skull of the Minari being played and activating. Sometimes it's still too slow in that deck, so there's just no room for it in this one. Alabama with a very, very strong starting hand. We saw them really hurting for that Myra's Unstable Element in the previous game. You don't usually want it in hand until the exact right time that you need it, but there is still definitely a chance that Texas can find clears with Defile, can find stabilization with the Spellstone and the Shroom Brewer, and then Alabama needs that reload just to deal the final couple points of damage.
I wonder as well, Gul'dan. Is it a tap, or is it a librarian? Glacial Shard is being held back for Hench Clown Thug or something. But I think tapping is fine here.
Holding either of the Kobold Librarian or the Glacial Shard, with the Squire with the Divine Shield on board, plus Defile, is 3 damage.
Doesn't quite deal with a Hench Clown, but it does deal with a Blink Fox. And it does deal with a Vicious Fledgling.
Well, it would deal with the Hench Clan with the addition of the Mortal Coil. Assuming the Hench Clan is played the same turn there's a dagger equipped.
You're right.
So that's how you get through the first one. How do we get through the second one? Well, Double Spellstone certainly does a nice job of it. And actually, this is looking a lot smoother than this game could have gone for Texas.
Right. I mean, Librarian in hand and both Spellstones in hand is certainly a great start against a deck like this. Having 2 cards that say 4 mana, deal 5 damage, gain 5 health, they are very, very good here. Ziliak's also great against the many 3/3s in this deck.
Yeah, I mean, I did not see this going quite as smoothly for Texas.
I think we're going to talk about Rastakhan a little bit more later, but are you a little bit afraid about how good Edwin's going to be with the Spirit card that doubles the combos?
Oh, yes. No, the Spirit's a little bit expensive for Rogue. It's 4 mana, right? No, I...
Turn 4, Spirit. Turn 5, Backstab, Backstab, Prep, Edwin. Boom.
To be perfectly honest, I haven't thought about it all that much. I've been listening to the theme
It's a 24/24
on repeat, and I haven't really thought about anything else.
Oh, so you know the theme song well, do you, Cora?
You're spoiling the surprise. Okay, so with the Kobold Librarian that last turn, now Texas does not have to go with some convoluted Defile setup, and instead can just Spellstone away this Hench Clan Thug. Of course, that does leave the 1/1 Argent Squire on the board, but that is A-okay with Texas. Cannot use those Galvanizers until you've drawn Mechathoon, so until then they can be a little bit clunky.
Does that matter in this matchup? We said earlier that we don't think the Mechathoon ever gets there. The reason I was thinking about that is because I was actually looking at Cataclysm and thinking, obviously they don't want to play it here, it's going to discard their hand. But in desperate times, Cataclysm can just be played from the hand to clear the board.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Lord Godfrey, also quite good at clearing the board.
You don't say. Yeah, this one could be a little bit more difficult for Texas to win by running Alabama out of cards, simply because that Myra's Unstable element is so powerful. It's going to be 8 or 9 cards reload for Alabama, and that can be a lot of burst damage very quickly. Could also just be a handful of small minions that you can't do anything with, though. We'll have to see. There is a reason that it's been getting dropped from some odd rogue lists, although I do think that it is absolutely correct to have it in.
Almost out of time. Job done.
You can definitely tell Texas throughout this entire series really taken their time to think about what these plays are, to discuss with each other and find the correct line. They've been going to the rope a lot.
Yep, believe me, I'm used to play like that. Team formats tend to.
A lot of Game 5 plus ropes this past weekend at HGG Finals at BlizzCon.
Well, actually, the final day with all 3-0s.
Oh yeah,
Both
much
semifinals
faster.
and the finals, yeah.
So Texas has so many amazing tools available to them. They have Blood Mage plus Defile, which is going to be a clear on pretty much any board that Alabama puts out. They do need to be a little bit careful that they don't wait until that Fungalmancer comes down. Potentially that could be a way to get these life totals out of range of Defile or Godfrey, but it's a lot harder to dodge the Godfrey clear.
I think I like the look of Thanos Defile, potentially. Clears the board, draws a card. Defile is an important resource, but given that Godfrey is there in the hand, Celiax and Shard are also great at what they do.
Your other option is... Well, I was going to say Ziliax away the Blink Fox. I didn't really consider option C, which is just Shroom Brewer, because this seems like it really hurts.
There's the Fungalmancer punish.
Yeah, if like Fungalmancer Coldblood were to come out here, that's a lot of damage.
Why has a whiteboard appeared behind Alabama?
I don't know.
Did you see that?
Did that just
slide
come
in?
into frame?
It
Yeah.
just slid in, but like some mystery whiteboard assailant has just pushed it onto the
A
screen.
new challenger has appeared. The dry erase board.
Mr. Whitecap is talking to him as well. What's going on here?
It does look like they're playing in a classroom.
Alabama, head of the game, head of the game.
Maybe somebody's got to teach in this classroom.
We're over here. Teach? What are you talking about? This is some high-level, important Hearthstone going on.
Okay, let's break down that turn from Alabama, because there were several options. They could have just gone with, like,
So many
what'd they do? They had to dagger up that turn as well. So it was Dagger, Deadly Poison, Shadow Bolt. So they couldn't have Fungalmancered and killed the Shroom Brewer without having run in one of their own minions. But this does leave their board rather vulnerable. Okay, focus.
The whiteboard is gone.
I'm gonna bring the focus. I would have understood if maybe they started taking notes.
All that's confusing me is that whoever's doing it has somehow remained off of camera the whole time. But yeah, no, I mean, Fungalmancering up the 3/3 and trading that into the Shroom Brewer would have been reasonable, but I guess that's very weak to Defile. Hence them going with the Shadow Belt route. Godfrey now clears the board, but that's Godfrey used up, and Whitecap.
Alabama is shouting.
They're very excited about that.
He's so excited that Godfrey has been played.
It's one of the most important cards. Wow, Duskbat! They can hit in the weapon and play the Duskbat.
Yeah, they can. It would. They'd be damaged this turn, so the Duskbat would summon the 2/1/1 bats.
They were about to play the SS7 agent there, but I think they then realized, hey, this is reasonable.
The Duskbat is better against Hellfire.
Yep, it's not too bad against Defile. It's fine.
Yeah. Their Blink Foxes have been quite good. Blink Fox isn't even normally in this deck anymore.
This is very weak to Thanos Defile, but I don't know that that's necessarily something they are thinking about.
So many
No, I'm
possibilities.
Godfrey is the more obvious clear. They're playing around, I'm sure, Defile by itself, but Thanos Defile, 2-card combinations are a little bit messier. Sometimes you just can't afford to play around them.
Well, with Godfrey gone, I guess Alabama aren't feeling the need to play around things too often, too much.
Also Ziliax Defile, but that seems real bad.
Silly, I was thinking that as well. Like
Thalnos, Defile, and Shroom Brewer seems quite strong.
That's a great play this turn. But Alabama are just going to be happy that they've seen a Defile used up and that their Myra's Unstable Element is going to have a real impact. Those Shroom Brewers are doing some serious work this game.
Yeah, pretty common inclusion in control-style Warlocks. Obviously, very powerful and even Warlock. But as much as this deck wants to draw aggressively, it does need to survive.
So Voodoo Doll plus Mortal Coil being drawn together is very convenient. Voodoo Doctor on the Varspine, then Mortal Coilet, and then Ziliax to deal with a 3/3 is just a
Voodoo
very...
Doctor, you say?
Sorry, Voodoo Doll. Just a very clean way of clearing the board and leaving the Ziliax on the board whilst restoring 6 health, including the health you restore when Alabama hits a dagger into it.
Yeah, I like it.
So many
Texas looks like they are, to them, almost in the clear. Obviously, we can see there is a Myra's Unstable Element in hand for Alabama, and once they run out their hand, they will then draw 8 or 9 new cards. But to get to this point of the game, I will admit Texas is looking a lot more alive than I thought they would at this point.
Unity, precision.
That Galvanizer does discount the Ziliax, and you can magnetize onto the Galvanizer, gain 4 life.
Eyes to meet you.
And now Alabama is forced to go through this Galvanizer. Texas just saw them play a Vile Spine Slayer, so it's really unlikely they have another one available.
It's not even a great hand to play Myra's Unstable Element with because it's quite expensive. So Alabama can't dump their current cards before playing it. They'd only be drawing 7.
Yeah, it's 3 good cards
Which
that
sounds-
Alabama wants to have.
It sounds silly. I'm saying 5 mana, they only draw 7 cards, but they also lose the rest of their deck. That's the issue here.
It's just dawned on me. Texas could win.
I think Texas are going to win, Cora.
I think Texas is going to win.
It's a shame. I was looking forward to asking Dog to recite the alphabet backwards.
I would much rather ask Texas about this incredible lineup of theirs.
I guess we could ask them about the game.
This is something that really can only happen in TESPA. Can only happen when they actually have nothing to lose because they've already made it to the next stage of the tournament. So they just entertain the audience.
I'm sorry, Cora. Are you saying that Are you saying that Cthulhu lineups can only win tournaments in TESPA? I'll have you know, my friend AKA Wonder would disagree with you.
Are you a fan of Hockey Boys, Falcone?
What?
Hockey Boys, 1, 2, 3. Boys with a Z. He's not playing in this tournament. He's the one who brought the Mecha'thun lineup to playoffs for Americas.
I forgot that there was a full Mecha'thun lineup. Yeah.
Yeah.
But AKA
Brave
Wonder.
guy.
AKA Wonder did it first, and he won.
So
That's fair.
many possibilities.
I know you're a fan of Spain.
I'm just a fan of AKA Wonder, honestly. I like Spain too, but I'm a big fan of AKA Wonder.
All right, Spellbreaker off the buff from the SI7 agent. Play cleanup.
One thing that would have been a little bit helpful for us in this series is actually seeing how many cards are left in the deck. That's incredibly relevant in these Mecha'thun decks.
Yeah, that's...
It's looking like there's at least 8 or 9 for Texas, based on the screen.
definitely an instance where we wish we had the technology. Now we do know that Alabama will have 0 cards remaining in their deck. And so far, every card that they've drawn is terrible.
Oh, they got Leroy. They got Leroy. They got a
They
Vast.
have 8 damage burst with Leroy deckhand. That's it. 10 with a
10,
dagger.
10.
They wanted Cold Blood. They wanted Deadly Poison. They didn't get them. Did they play either Cold Blood this game? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. So they were both just burned.
That's really unfortunate.
Second Galvanizer can be played whenever Texas wants to spend the mana to play it. Doesn't matter now. I don't think that Texas can clear the whole board yet, but I don't think it particularly matters either. They can trade the Spellbreaker into the SA7 agent to remove as much damage as possible. They can play a Glacial Shard to freeze something if they'd like and put some taunts up, Voidwalker. There's no downside to going wide. There's nothing the Other can do to clear the board.
I wonder. Nice to meet you.
Again, both of these teams undefeated so far in matches over the last 5 weeks.
Not for long.
The winner of this will remain undefeated, but the losing team will still be moving on to the next stage of the tournament.
I love this play, Cora. Going as wide as they can.
I agree.
If Texas want to, they can just Cataclysm when Alabama have dumped everything onto the board. Well, they're not going to want to do that, but it's an option. They don't need Mechathune to win this.
Well, they still have a Defile.
6
they still
cards.
have 2 Hellfires in the deck. They have plenty of removal.
6 cards left in Texas's deck. They're going to draw 1 from the Loot Hoarder. That's 5. Draw 1 from their card draw next turn. That's 4. They're almost there. We may see the Mechathune win condition. Do you believe? Well, Texas do. They believe. And I believe.
I mean, this is certainly not over for Alabama. Fungalmancer is a powerful card. And if Texas does whiff on removal here, then potentially they could be in trouble. They've got 2 more draws for second Defile, and I think they have Hellfire available. They only have 1 Hellfire in the deck, so they do have a Hellfire available still. So it's very unlikely that they don't find a way to clear this board. And they need to find that Blood Bloom.
There's a Loot Hoarder. There's a
There's
Hellfire.
All right.
Had to be drawn eventually. That's a full board clear. Alabama's do have a way of restocking the board, though.
Yeah, they can go.
Fledgling, Valspine, Deckhand. Seems fine.
Yeah, we could still definitely see.
Wait.
They do have another Defile remaining, correct? We saw the one with the spell damage, and that was it.
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so I do think there is one left in
But
the deck.
Defile can be played around to an extent.
To an extent. There's the Voodoo Doll in hand as well, though.
Voodoo Doll, Defile.
Does Texas want to get this Acolyte of Pain down? I guess they do. They're not worried about overdrawing. They just want to draw through the last couple cards
Of
in their
course.
deck.
The difference between Mechathune Warlock and the other Mechathune decks.
You don't need to play all the cards in your hand.
Yeah, whereas usually you do. So that's why, for anyone that isn't aware about the combo, that's why it was genuinely a consideration to just hold back on this Acolyte of Pain. Alabama aren't even going to give Texas the draws, though, as they Valspine it away.
And that's another situation where the Loot Hoarder would have been better.
This Defile wouldn't be a full board clear here. This is interesting.
10 damage, 16 base.
Is it lethal?
that-
Is it lethal next turn for Texas?
I believe they have Defile and
I wonder.
If we
what else
could,
do they have in their deck?
if we could ask whoever is in charge of the mouse right now to politely show us the
Did they
cards
play
remaining
double
in the
Mortal
deck.
Coil this game?
There it is.
Okay,
2
so
cards
it's
left.
Defile and 1 more card.
If they just play Loot Hoarder here, it's lethal next turn.
But 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 damage with Leroy Deckhand Dagger. 6 on board. If that... No, even if the Fledgling hits Wind Fury, it's only 19.
But
Alabama would be 1 off.
but Blood Bloom Cataclysm costs 4 life.
They need to
play.
be above 4 health
Yeah.
to... Oh, that's right.
Oh,
This is gonna
Mechathune's
get
coming down.
silenced! And it doesn't even matter, really.
Wait, it doesn't. Alabama actually have to deal with it because they die
gonna
if they
die.
don't.
What in the world? This is actually... Whoa, look at Texas. They're getting all up close and personal. They are really hoping... If this was Leroy Coldblood, they're dead.
Like you said, if it's Wind Fury, it's 19 damage. So
Well, Leroy Coldblood
Look at-
plus Deckhand,
look
or
at
Leroy
Texas.
Coldblood plus Deadly Poison.
arm in arm, praying that their Mechathune can get this job done.
What do they
There's
hit off
no
of this?
Wind Fury there.
And there's no taunt.
But Blood Bloom still wouldn't have been lethal because it would have been 16 damage, and the 4 extra life that Texas would have had to spend would have killed them.
Yes, but Alabama now needs to kill this Mechathune or it's going to connect
In
to face and
fact-
end the game.
In fact, it would have been a tie, I believe.
Okay. So they need to kill this Mechathune. It can be Leroy Deckhand into Mechathune, and then Texas have 4 damage, plus Alabama's going to take another 4. What a freaking weird ending
To a
this
very
series.
weird series.
We finally saw a Mechathune at least activate,
Texas,
sort of.
Texas seemed genuinely annoyed that the Mechathune didn't just end the game then. Like, what? You got rid of our Mechathune?
I like that they're not silencing the Loot Hoarder. You can try and get some damage off of Fatigue. But Alabama's taken 4 damage next turn. So
Defile is a good draw. They can clear the board without having to play Cataclysm. Then when Baku gets played, Texas can Cataclysm that.
and then Alabama are dead in Fatigue.
So,
I think this is, well, you can Voodoo Doll and Defile here
yeah,
without having to trade over
right.
anything.
The next turn, Cataclysm will clear up Baku, and Alabama will die to Fatigue
We've
before
got
Texas do.
Our checkmate scenario. Okay, so it was second Acolyte of Pain that was the last card in the deck. Alabama can do nothing here. Texas with a 4 Mechathune deck lineup without a Mechathune ever activating the correct way over 5 games are going to take this series. It doesn't even matter that Mechathune never activated. They're still his biggest fans. And I could not be happier with the way this series has gone. What an entertaining 5 games this has been.
I am entirely lost for words.
Oh my god.
There's the lethal. Alabama don't look very impressed. They tried really hard. They had serious decks, but Texas, the Mechathune lineup, get the job done. And I've got to tell you, Cora, from the personality that I've seen on screen throughout the
love
series,
these guys.
I cannot wait to interview them.
That's the thing. We get to watch them throughout the entire game, so later on in the tournament Swiss rounds, these teams tend to get a little wacky. They like to have fun with it. They're college students, you know, they're doing this for an opportunity and a lot of scholarships.